Really?
She's my favorite character.
Okay. Well, all of the leads were excellent.
They were good.
Yeah.
That's pretty cute. Yeah, the colors are cool.
Okay, we're gonna start, so, oh shit, I forgot to put the date. So it is Thursday. Somebody reminded me it's the 9th, it's not the 16th already. So, let yourself sit comfortably. Enjoy either sitting on the floor, long legs out, or cross-legged if you'd rather, on a blanket if you want. Same thing in a chair. You can always put a blanket in your chair to sit on. Let yourself just be easy as you close your eyes gently. And if you can, let your hands come in together so that you turn your palms up and you cup your hands so palms are just resting one on top of the other one. And if that tends to make you want to slump forward, then don't do it. If you can't keep yourself really lifting up through the top of your head and comfortable to open across your chest, then don't do that with your hands. Do something else. But just close your eyes and feel your breath now coming in and going out through your nose. So accepting the breath, feeling the belly rise and expand a little bit as you breathe in. You do have your hands cupped like that, just switch the hand that's on top. So you just bring the other hand on top easily. And then just again, accept your breaths in and out. And if you're comfortable to come towards those 3-part breaths, you can inhale into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into your chest. And on your next exhale, go ahead and release your arms on out beside you so that you feel like you can lengthen up through the top of your head, but you feel really released through your shoulders. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now just bring your hands to meet again in front of your chest here. And now as you inhale, let the hands just drift over towards the right a little bit, towards the front of your right shoulder. And when you exhale, let them come right back in to center. And then inhale, letting them come the other way across the chest to the left. And as you exhale, let them come back into center. And now, let the hands inhale to the right, but bring them up and over the top a little bit, maybe up over your head, and exhale down the other side. So it's like you're circling your hands around, almost like the feeling of a Ferris wheel. And we'll keep going. When you inhale, the hands will come up the right side, and exhale when they come down the left and through the middle. So just do 1 or 2 more of those with your own breath. And you know, if it bothers your shoulder or your arm, let yourself just adjust accordingly. They can be smaller circles. The next time that your hands be in front of your chest, stay there. Let yourself take a breath there with your hands at your chest. And all we're going to do is reverse and inhale as the hands come over to the left. And again, it just depends on you, how big of a circle you make. Make sure you just let yourself easily flow with your breath. Inhaling up exhaling as you come down the other side. And the next time your hands are back again down in front of your chest, stay there again. And then from here, interlace your fingers and clasp your hands. Really squeeze your palms towards each other and squeeze your fingers, right? So really feel the bones in your fingers as you squeeze your fingers in towards each other, but also down towards the back of your hands a little bit, right? And then let's start to turn our palms away from our chest and press out forward into the heels of the hands. Let your shoulders melt down. Now feel your feet in the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching. Press down a little bit, feel the belly engaging a little bit. And then start to float your hands up a little higher, only as high as your shoulders allow. So you may decide you need to stay somewhat forward, or you may want to come all the way up to bring your hands over your head. That is totally up to you. Feel the lift of the belly, one more breath. And then release, let your arms come on down beside you again. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right. So let yourself come around. I'm going to mirror you. So come on around. Let that back hand either lightly touch the floor behind you or let your arm come down the back of your chair. And be mindful of where you're looking so that your neck feels okay. Right? You may decide to look to the wall beside you, or you may want to look back a little farther. Totally up to you. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring yourself back into center and stop there. Take a breath there. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So again, press down into your feet a little bit now. Again, get comfortable in the twist there where you're looking. If it feels good to kind of think of looking more behind yourself a little bit, you can, but don't force it. Finding that twist in the middle of the back, feeling the sitting bones drawing down. One more inhale. And as you exhale, let yourself come on back around into center. And then from here, as you exhale, come a little bit forward. And when you inhale, let yourself come back upright. So this is up to you. This moving forward and back with that rocking motion, how far you go is totally up to you. So just take your time, letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back up. And then the next time you come forward now, let yourself stay there. And you know you don't want to go any farther than feels good for your own back. So you're welcome to stay up higher. Hands can be on the floor. If you're in your chair and you want to rest your elbows above your knees, you can. You can always separate your feet. Or you can bring your hands down farther or out farther if you're on the floor. Again, you know that is totally up to you, how your back and your hips feel. Just take your time. Let yourself feel the breath coming in and going out. Good. One more breath. And now to come up, be mindful as you rise on up. Nice long back, all the way back up. And if you're on the floor cross-legged, switch the cross of your legs. And you can stretch them out if you need to, right, between sides. And then getting to where the other leg is in front if you were cross-legged. And then we'll release our arms again on down beside us. And let's inhale our right arm all the way out and up overhead, however you need to get it there. And then bend your elbow a little bit. Let yourself just release wherever you want this hand to be. On top of your head, all the way down to behind your neck or your upper back. Or maybe you need to, be at the back of your head, let your elbow come out or forward, right? And I know some of you like to bring the left arm over the top and get a hold of your elbow. That is certainly not necessary. Another thing you can do is use your hand kind of in front of your upper arm there, if that feels any better. So just be where you can. Let yourself lengthen up through the top of your head. Keep your gaze forward. Good. One more breath. And then we'll release. Let your arms just unfold right on down beside you very easily. And we'll inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And again, this is totally up to you and your shoulder. And now this is a different shoulder, so you may not be able to put your hand the same place on each side, right? And again, it is optional to use that right arm over the top and hold your elbow. But again, try to keep your gaze forward, whether you're holding the elbow or not, so that you're almost feeling like you're breathing in and out through your heart. One more breath. And then we'll release and unfold again our arms on down beside us. Float your hands just a little off the floor if you're on the floor. And circle your hands around in one direction. And then just stop and go the other direction. And then just let yourself release your arms on down and make a little soft, easy circle with your shoulders. In one direction, once you get down to the bottom with the shoulders again, just stop and reverse and go a circle the other direction. But try to let them be easy so you don't feel like you're tensing your shoulders up when they come up. It's really easy to roll through. Feel almost more like you're rolling through your shoulders a little bit. And then when you're finishing the one that you happen to be on right now, let yourself stay down with your shoulders. And then that rocking motion on this side. So those of you who switched legs, now you're going to come forward and back with your breath with the other leg in front. So again, really following the breath. So just starting to get comfortable with your breath moving your body, really. Feeling that connection. Good. And again, the next time that you end up forward, it is totally up to you where you go in a seated forward bend, right? So take your time. Let yourself just be easy. Stay up if you need to. Keep your elbows above your knees if you're in your chair, or maybe you feel like you like to bring your hands down or out farther if you're on the floor. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to rise on back up. Take your time here. And those of you on the floor, stretch your legs out, okay? And kind of move through your ankles a little bit. And we're all going to do this. So even in the chair, you might want to come a little bit more forward to the front of your chair. But we're all going to have our our left leg be long and our right knee bent. So those of you on the floor will be here, right? Because we're going to twist. So you can have the foot down lower or up higher. That's up to you, right? So as you let yourself take a nice inhale and you lengthen up through your spine, we're all going to twist towards our bent knee. So come on around into that twist. And you can have your hand on your knee. Those of you who want to bring your arm across, if that feels good, you can, to the outside of that knee. Now think about that left foot. The toes are facing up towards the ceiling, right? Let yourself enjoy lengthening up through the top of your head. One more inhale. And on the exhale, slowly make your way back around into center. And all we're going to do is switch legs. So coming to the other side, be really mindful there of being able to lengthen up. And on your exhale, you're going to come on around to the other side. So again, just feel your sitting bones reaching down. Think of the toes facing up on that right foot and the knee facing up. So you're not letting the leg turn out, right? You're really letting yourself feel that engagement in that leg. Good. One more breath here. And then as you exhale, let yourself come on back around. Good. And let's all just stretch our legs out for a second. And you can hold on to your chair. You can flex and point your feet a little bit too if you're on the floor. If you want to circle your feet around a little, do. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So you know if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be. You can actually do a seated cat-cow too if you'd rather. All alright? So, be mindful, letting yourself get comfortable with how you have your hands, whether you have your hands flat or fisted, right? So if that's better for your wrist to come on to fist do, or even if you feel better to get out of your hands entirely and come down onto your forearms to do your cat-cows. So take your time and play a little bit on your own. Like, move through your cat-cow a couple of times. Decide how they feel, how each pose feels, right? So you may decide you don't want to go very extremely. You just want to feel a little bit of movement through your spine. You don't want to come into any deep curves. But sometimes when you start that flowing motion, it almost feels good to draw a little more into deepening the poses, right? And sometimes you just want to stop and stay in your cat or your cow. And that's fun. You don't have to keep moving. But really do imagine you're warming up those muscles alongside of your spine. And you're finding that flowing movement through the spine. And then finish off the one you're on. And we'll come back to a more neutral spine here. And from here, just turn your head to the right. Just let yourself look to the right. And then look back down between your hands. And then just look to the left. And then look back down between your hands. Now, if you can, when you look to the right, lift your right hand off the chair or the floor. You can reach it straight out from your shoulder, or it can go higher up if you want. And then we'll bring it back down, and we're going to look to the left. Left hand floats up if you can, and again, you can let it come up higher, or you can keep it low. And then we'll come on back down again. And let's bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and find a lunge here. Now this lunge might be, your feet might be 2 or 3 feet apart. You may decide to take yourself into a longer lunge. You definitely want to be mindful of the front knee. So make sure that front knee is bent no farther forward than your ankle. Let yourself come into the back of the right leg there. And draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. And even if you want to get higher with your hands, remember, so that you kind of start to feel this long line down the back of your body. Good. And we are going to switch legs. So how you do that is totally up to you, and you know that. And do remember that you want your feet kind of like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. You don't want to line up your feet. You want to feel like they would be hips distance apart if you had them at the same place, right? And then draw your shoulders down, and again, think about that length down the back of your body. Good. And then from here, we're going to switch legs again. So once you get established in your lunge, you feel good about your length and how far apart your feet are. See about bringing your left hand up to your left hip and rolling that shoulder up, coming into a little bit of a twist. So you can put your hand palm down on your low back there, or you can stretch your arm up if you want, or you can kind of keep your shoulder down if that feels better too. Just be mindful. Feel that twist in the middle of the back. One more breath. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hand back down. We're going to switch legs again. So again, once you get into feeling really good about your lunge and very mindful of that front knee, bringing your right hand onto your right hip. And again, that little bit of a twist in the middle of the back, trying to stay fairly level there at your low back. And you can stretch your arm up if you want. You can keep your arm down, hand on your low back or on your hip. And then we're going to come on back down with the hand, back into lunge. And let's step forward from here and come into standing forward then. So remember, feet are hips distance apart and parallel. And if you don't want to go very low, you have a chair there, you can always be even higher than the seat of the chair and put a block in the seat of your chair. Or you can come down to let yourself come onto forearms on the chair, or you could bring your hands down towards your blocks or towards the floor. And just enjoy. Remember, be very mindful of how your back feels. So if you need to support the back a little bit more and put your elbows above your knees, do. Just make sure you feel when you're coming forward, there's not a sense of stress in your back. But if you can, enjoy opening up the backs of your legs. Let yourself feel the weight of your head if possible, as long as that doesn't bother your back. And then watch those breaths, feeling that sense of the breath coming in and going out really fully, but not forcing, right? But you can feel the ribs expand. It feels very easy to let the inhales and exhales come closer to the same length. Good. One more nice, full, deep breath. And then let's let our hands come up to our hips, bend our knees, and press into our feet and rise on up. Bring your hands right together in front of your heart for a second. Bring your gaze on forward and out, so you're looking at the horizon. Good. And then go ahead and unfold your arms down beside you, and let the arms just get a little bit away from you, like a breath away from you. And turn your palms forward now, and let the fingers spread nice and wide. And imagine you're reaching down towards the ground with your fingertips, which draws your shoulders away from your ears. And feel your mountain pose here, like you're standing between two panes of glass. So you feel very balanced, very equal between the front and the back of your body. And the same way between the right and the left sides of your body. Starting from your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. All the way up the sides of the body and into your shoulders, your arms, and even into your hands, feeling very equal. And then let's inhale the arms out and up overhead, only as far as you want to go. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice flat back. You know, hands can be on your legs to do that anywhere you want, or on your chair or your blocks. And we'll step the right foot back now and come into lunge. And let your shoulders draw down away from your ears. Be really mindful of finding that lunge in your whole body. And we'll make our way into a downward facing dog pose. And you know your down dog is totally what you need to do. Hands can be on the chair, they can be on the blocks or the floor. Just remember you're focusing on the length of your spine, and you do want to be really comfortable in your shoulders, right? So if you need to let your hands come up to a different height or down to a different height, do it. Elbows hug in towards you a little bit, towards each other a little bit. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. And you don't have to do a full plank pose. You can put your forearms down if you want to get out of your hands. You can put your knees down. Just take your time. You're more than welcome to do little push-ups if you want when you're in your plank, or you're more than welcome to stay in the plank. Focus on the core body. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose from there. Walk a little bit in your dog if it feels okay to you. If not, don't. You know, remember your knees can be bent in dog, or they can be straight. And then from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward to find lunge. So however you want to do that is totally up to you. Take your time. Let yourself draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. And then we'll come on back forward into standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, be really mindful about how far you're going forward, how your back feels. Remember, your knees can be bent or your knees can be straighter. That is totally up to you. And now watch your breath. In and out. See if you can count when you breathe in, and see if you can reach close to that same count when you breathe out, right? So that the inhales and exhales even out a little bit. our knees and bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to rise on it to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose here. Feel equal through your feet. If you need to adjust your stance, do. Let that gaze come forward. Let yourself enjoy feeling the hands connected there. Just gently feeling the fingers and whatever part of your palms touch. And then feel your feet in the floor. And bend your knees a little bit. Imagine you're pushing the floor down away from you. And unfold your arms on down beside you. And inhale the arms up as you press down into your feet a little bit. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back again. Again, it does not matter whether your hands are on your legs, your chair, or your blocks. And this time we'll step the left foot back and come into that lunge. So again, find your lunge in your whole body. Really, think about not just your legs and up into your hips, but the spine being lengthened, the length through the back of the body, and the back of your head in line with your spine. And we'll come on into a downward facing dog pose from here. So again, be really mindful. You know, your knees can be bent. You can have yourself up in your chair with your heels still on the floor and lengthening out through your spine. Or you can have hands on the floor and be more like in an upside down V, right? And we're going to come on out towards a plank, and it is totally optional again whether you want to stay in plank or do a half plank or a forearm plank. Bend your elbows a little bit if you like to do little push-ups. Just take your time, let yourself find that strength there. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. And from here, the left foot will come forward. So however you need to come into that lunge, putting a knee or knees down to bring that left foot forward and through. And again, really think about bringing your back of your head into line with your spine. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend again. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful, be easy. Feel free to use any support you need. And just breathe. Let your jaw relax if you can. So sometimes imagining you're relaxing your teeth helps, and your tongue. I know some of you like to hold your elbows, so if you like that full weight of the torso forward and you want to hold your own elbows, you can. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, bend our knees, rise up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to adjust a little bit or even look at your feet to make sure you're pretty parallel with your feet, do. And then just come on back into mountain. Let yourself enjoy finding that great spot for your hands, right? There's no right or wrong. Where your thumb comes in towards your chest is up to you. Just let it feel really easy to feel open across your chest. Good, and then unfold your arms on down beside you, and let's inhale the arms up into a wide V, or maybe you want your hands over your shoulders, that's up to you. Mountain with arms overhead. So automatically when your arms are up like this, your belly lifts, right? Not much you need to do except make sure you're not tucking your tailbone up under you. Reach your tailbone like it's reaching, dropping down towards between your heels. And if you like to look up, you can look up. If it feels good to open up a little more and look up towards the ceiling. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward, back into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long back again. And we are going to walk into down dog from here. So you just let your hands go to the spot that feels right for you, what height feels good. Coming into your dog, if you want to walk your dog, you can. If it bothers you, don't do it. You can bend one knee at a time if that feels good. Good. and then come back to your full dog and let your next inhale bring you towards that plank. It is optional to do any kind of back bend here. You can come down to the floor, do a Sphinx, you can do a little cobra, you can do an out dog or no back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So again, be mindful if you need to wag your tail around a little bit, if you need to just move, however it feels good to move, you can. Because we are going to do that again. We're going to come on out and forward towards that plank. And again, it is optional to add a back bend here, not necessary. Do what you feel comfortable to do and whatever kind of back bend feels good. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Good, and from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward. Again, just take your time as you come on into your lunge there. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. And come into those breaths. Nice, easy, full, deep breaths. Ribs expanding as you inhale. Feeling the weight of your head. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale the hands down to be in front of our chest, think about lifting up more through the top of your head. And if you feel like you want to sway or shift a little bit, do it. You know, if you kind of want to shift front to back or side to side, just so you kind of even out the weight between the fronts and the backs of your feet and between the right and the left side. And then just enjoy finding that alignment, letting the body settle its way into being aligned so that it's easy to stand here, easy to breathe as well. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. Shake out just a little bit and move around a little bit if you need to. I'm going to flip my chair around. We're going to come in as some warriors. So if you're using your chair, you might want to flip it. Make sure you have your blocks too. And we're going to step our right foot back and our left foot forward for warrior two. So you all know how long of a stance you take is up to you. You know, you can have your feet really close together and be very solid right here in the core of your body. You don't have to make it all about this big long stance, right? So be mindful, bend the front knee, get your heels in line, bend that front knee, make sure it's not going out beyond your toes. You can always put your hand on your chair. And then start to float your arms up a little bit higher than your shoulders. Let your shoulders melt down. And then once you let the hands come down to look out over the top of that left hand, spread your fingers a little bit. Really imagine you're reaching equally out through both sets of fingertips. And just feel that power and strength. Feel it in your core body. Feel your legs and your hips. Feel soft in the tops of your shoulders, though. Good. Now let's lower our arms on down. And now from here, start to float your left arm up again. Turn the palm up. And now slide your right hand down your back leg and reach up towards the ceiling into reverse warrior. So inhaling into that left side of the body. And then we're going to come back to warrior two from there. Let yourself reach back through that back arm if you can. Nice. And now put your right hand on your hip. We're going to straighten the left leg out. And we're going to come into triangle pose. So your triangle pose can be with your hand on your chair. It can be up on your thigh. You know, as you bring the torso out over that front leg, you may decide, I need to kind of change how wide I am in my stance. And that's fine. So just feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. You can add the right arm straight up if you want to from your shoulder or not. You can use your leg or a block. Legs are engaging upward. One more breath. And now bend your left knee, come on back into warrior two. Pressing those feet away from each other gets you right back into that core strength. And we're going to let our arms come down, and we're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So how wide your feet are is up to you. Whether you want to grab your blocks or not is also up to you. As you come on forward, hands to blocks or the floor. And be mindful, let both your knees bend for a second here. Let yourself try to find a nice long back, whether your hands are on blocks or the floor in front of you. So you have this long spine. And imagine you're trying to make your mat a little longer with your feet, so they're pressing gently away from each other. Reach back through your tailbone and forward and out through the top of your head. Good. And now walk your hands a little over to the right. Doesn't matter how far. You might want to go all the way to your foot, or you might want to just walk the blocks over a little bit to the right. Enjoy a breath there. Then if possible, see if you can bring your right hand on up to your low back or to your hip, either one. I mean, you might even want to roll your shoulder up and twist a little bit there. And then release, come on back down with that right hand, and we're going to walk back through center. And again, as you go to the left, it depends on you. You can be out in front of your foot. You can walk over closer to your foot if you want. It doesn't have to be very far. Take a breath there. And then you can decide, left hand coming up. You know, if you'd like to kind of turn to look to your left, you can, adding a little bit of a twist there. Or you can just, if possible, keep your hand up there without the twist. And then come on back down with your hand. We're going to walk on back into center. And now set yourself up to stay in the pose. Maybe you want to stack your blocks up and get out of your hands and be on your forearms. Or maybe you want to bring your hands down towards the floor between your feet. Or maybe you feel better to be some other supported way. Elbows above your knees is another good one to support your back. And then just breathe. Nice, easy, full deep breaths. Feeling that wonderful expansion of the ribs as you breathe in. And how they naturally come back in when you exhale. Good. One more full, complete deep breath, all the way in and all the way out. And when you get ready to rise up, really be mindful. Take your time. You were there a bit. If you're dizzy at all, you might want to, stay there with your feet a little wider before you walk around so that you're not too dizzy. But take your time. Move around through your feet and your ankles a little bit if you need to. We're going to go to the other side. So we're going to step the left foot back. We're coming into warrior two here. So lining up those heels. Again, your feet can be very close together. And you are still really finding the core of the body's strength there, right? You step farther back. Oftentimes, warrior two, either closer or farther is great. Triangle's a little bit harder when your feet are closer together. So just take your time. Let yourself bend that front knee. Start to float your arms on up a little higher than your shoulders. So really let your shoulders melt down. And then when the arms start to lower and you turn your gaze to look out over the top of that right hand, you're reaching out through your fingertips, softening the shoulders down. It's like you're reaching as far away from you as you can. Good. One more breath. And then we'll softly let our arms come back down. And we're just going to float just the right arm up, turn the palm up as it comes, and then start to reach up. Let that left hand give you a little support back there on your leg. Breathing into the right ribs here. Good. The next exhale, we're going to come back to warrior two. So letting yourself come on back, turn your palms down, reach back through the left fingertips and forward through the right. And then bring your left hand down to your hips. Straighten your right leg out and bring your right hand down for a triangle. So again, this is triangle. You can be up on the chair and be as high as you want. You're still got long spine, right? You can decide, well, I want to bring my hand down farther and I want to keep my back nice and lengthened. So you just make sure you don't collapse in the underside of the body and round. It's that length. You can add the top arm up if you choose, straight up from your shoulder, or you can keep your hand right down on your hip. Feel those thighs engaging upward. One more breath. Nice. We're going to bend that right knee and come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And we'll bring our hands on down. We're going to turn our feet again, parallel. And chances are you still have your blocks kind of handy. If you need them, grab them. Let yourself come on forward. Take your time and go ahead. And if you feel okay to bend a knee at a time, go for it. And if you're like, yes, no way am I doing that, don't do it. Good. And then we're going to come on back into center, and you can let both your knees be bent in this pose, or you can have them both straight. But again, start to kind of set up where you're comfortable to be so that you can really feel relaxed in your upper body. So you're engaged in your lower body, but you're trying to really let go in your upper body. If you can let your head hang, do, just because that takes tension out of your neck and your jaw. Let your face relax. And then see if you can just bring your awareness to the little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale, feel that little pause before you exhale. And when you exhale, feel that same little pause at the end before you inhale. So really just imagine you're just appreciating those little spaces between your breaths. Almost like you just relax a little more every time you come into one of those little spaces. And one more breath here. And of course, when you get ready to rise up, again, it is up to you. If you need to bring your feet together before you come up, by all means do. And if you are dizzy at all, you need to grab hold of something, do. And then take your time. Move around a little bit. Through your legs, your feet, whatever you need to move through. And if you're using your chair, let's turn it around where the seat of it faces us, or have both your blocks handy at the highest height, all right? Because all we're going to do is bring our hands down to either the block's highest height or our chair. And we're going to step our right foot back to a brief little lunge. Let it be a kind of a short lunge, all right? Because right from this little lunge, we're going to come into pyramid pose. Now, as you straighten both legs out, if it feels uncomfortable to let that heel come in a little bit of that right foot into that little turnout, don't do it, okay? Those of you know who I'm talking to. You can let it be more parallel and it might feel a little bit better. Otherwise, you can angle that foot just 20, 30 degrees. Both legs are straight and you're really extending into your spine now. So you're lengthening through your back. Trying not to do this and round up into your back and drop your head down, right? Instead, you're reaching back through your tailbone and you're lengthening out through the top of your head. So if from this pyramid pose you can bring your left hand to your left hip, do, and roll that shoulder up. Really feel the right heel on the ground, remember. You're grounded through that whole foot. You're coming into that twist in the middle of your back. You can feel the outside of that left front leg there. One more breath. And then come on back down with your hand. We're going to bend the front knee, step forward, and right away we're just going to step the left foot back to a little lunge. So let it be kind of a short lunge, not a real deep lunge. Because from that, to come into pyramid, you can adjust that back foot as you straighten both legs out. Remember that left heel is on the ground. If you can turn it out 20, 30 degrees, do, but if not, it can be fully parallel, right? But those of you who can get that leg turned out, really feel now, both legs are straight, thighs are engaging up towards the hips. Lengthen through your spine, flat back. And then if you can bring your right hand on up to your right hip and roll your shoulder up, you can come into that twist right there in the middle of your back. Trying to stay level in your low back where your hand is there. And trying not to lift up that right side and drop into the left side, right? So one more breath. And then go ahead and release. Bring your hand on back down. Bend that front knee. Step your feet forward and get them right underneath your hips. And you might want to bring them a little closer together. We're going to bend both our knees. So once you bend your knees, it kind of releases your hips already. And then see if you can just bring your right foot off the floor. So you have all your weight into your hands and in your left leg. Now if you can stretch back into Warrior 3, you can turn the toes down towards the ground. That leg can be lower, right? Or it can be as high as parallel to the floor. And some of you may want to lift your left hand up, right? I can think of lifting it to your chest, or if you have your chair there, you can put your left hand on the back of your chair, which is a nice thing to have there. So be where you can. One more breath. And then we'll bring down our foot, our hand if it was up. Bend your knees again a little bit. Let your feet be a little bit closer than they are in your mountain, right? Just a little bit. And then we're going to do that same thing. We're going to shift our weight to the right foot and lift the left foot up. So you've got the knee bent at first, both knees. And then you can decide. You can send the foot back, keep it low, let the legs come straighter. You still have weight on your hands. Remember, you can lift the leg up as high as parallel to the ground, but you don't have to go that high. And you can hold on with both hands. You can think, if you want, about bringing the weight to your left hand and picking your right hand up off the chair or the block. You can reach the arm forward if you want to. You can, again, if you've got the chair there, it's really handy. You can actually use your hand on the chair to help stabilize you. And then we're going to release and bring our foot down. Separate your feet a little wider, as wide as you want, really. And then bend your knees. Put your elbows above your knees if you can. Let your hips and your low back release. If you want to squat down, go for it. You can squat all the way down if you choose to. And however you want to squat, too. So if your squats feel better with your feet turned out, right? And some of us, like, our heels come up when we come into a squat, especially if your feet are closer together. That's fine, too. And if they come down to the floor, that's fine, too. And you can even let yourself be more parallel with your feet in a squat, right? Only you know how your hips and your knees respond to these, right? Good. So one more breath here. Good. And now we're going to come on back up with our hips. Get our feet underneath us. Get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And then we'll bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And let's inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And as our hands come down, think about the top of the head getting closer to the ceiling so you have all that space in your spine. Get aligned with your pelvis. Remember, make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward, but feel like you're floating in the upper half of your body. You're grounded equally through your feet, but really you feel so light in the upper half. And just feel the beating of your heart. Let yourself feel your breath coming in and going out. And then we're going to release to let our arms come on down beside us. Good. Shake out a little bit. And we're going to come down to our mats on the ground. We're going to come onto our bellies. All right? So let yourself take your time. Be mindful. Place your head onto your hands. Stack your hands up and release there. Oh my goodness.
I know.
Whoa. So take your breath easily into your low back. Let yourself release your low back. If you want to bend your knees and circle your feet around or do the windshield wiper blades, you can. It's not necessary. It's whatever feels good to you. And then we'll come on back to long legs and let your head just stay there on your hands. Bend your right knee and flex your foot like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. And that's it. Just stay there. You'll feel your quad. If you want to pull it in a little closer towards your buttocks, your heel closer towards your buttocks, you can, but it's not necessary. If you do want to float your head up off your hands, you can too. So that you're using your back body a little bit. There's a little back bend. And then go ahead and bring everything down. And we'll do the left leg. So flex the foot. Again, it's like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. You already feel your quad there. Of course, if it feels even better to pull the heel in more towards your buttocks, do. And then again, maybe you want to float your head up a little off your hands. But feel your back body helping you do that, right? And then we'll come on back down. And then from here, release your arms down alongside your body. Let your forehead come to the floor. And from here, on your next inhale, see if you can float your head up. Just your nose is barely off the floor. Don't go really high. And then float your hands up, too. So you've got the whole upper half of the body in locust. And then bring it all down. Take a breath into your low back. And then see if you can lift just your right leg up. It's pretty straight if you can. Point your foot. And then put it down. And then try just the left foot coming up. Leg is long. It's like somebody's pulling the foot way down towards the wall at your feet. And then put that foot down. Good. And now let's try to lift just the legs up. And then add your head. And then go ahead and float your hands up into your locust pose. It does not have to be high to be strengthening your back. You can be barely off the floor with your head, your hands. We're going to release all the way back down, and we're going to come into a Sphinx pose now with our elbows under our shoulders or close to it. If you need to be down more and slide your elbows more towards your waist, by all means do. Or you can come up so that you feel a little more lift. That's up to you. Good. And then from here, go ahead and clasp your hands together. Press down into the outside edges of your hands. And if you want to lift up a little bit to a half forearm plank, you can, where you're on the flesh above your knees. And you're bending your knees and pressing forward. So you're pulling yourself towards the front of your mat. Engaging your belly. Good. So one more breath there. And then we're going to release and come on back down. Make that pillow with your hands again. And again, bend your right knee, flex your foot like we did before. Now some of you from here might want to go up a little higher. You might want to use your left forearm to give you support and reach back with your right hand and get hold of your right foot. It is not necessary to do that. You can just stay just where we were, just barely off your forearm, or you can try to reach back if you want. And then we're going to come on down. We're going to switch legs again. Bend the left knee. The head can lift up a little bit. That might be fine again, just enough. Or you might want to reach your left hand back and get hold of the top of the foot. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back down. Come on back to your forearms again. Clasp your hands. And try either a half or a forearm plank if you can do one. So you can bend the knees like we did before. Pull yourself towards the front of the mat. You can put your feet down, lift your knees up. Do a full forearm plank if you'd rather. That is totally up to you. So be mindful. Let it be where you can feel the strength there in the core of the body. And then we'll release to come down. And we're going to make our way towards pose of a child or stay on your belly, right? You can stay on your belly and breathe into your low back. You might want to lift up and just let your hips be straight up so that you're okay there. Or you might not want to do any of this. You might just want to stay on your belly. Just saying. If you do feel like shifting back, hips towards the heels, those of you who are comfortable to do that. Remember, your arms can be overhead or they can be soft alongside your legs. Breathing into the low back. Good. One more breath. And now take your time. Hands to help you up however you need them. We're going to come on around with our legs in front of us to sitting. So take your time, be mindful. If you need to sit up on a blanket, do. Stretch your legs out in front of you for a second. And move through your feet, your ankles. Let them circle a little bit. They can do the same direction or opposite, whatever feels good. Just letting yourself feel your feet. Flex and point a little bit, maybe even, one at a time if that feels good. Pedal your feet. Good. And then from here, let your hands come back behind you. And you can kind of turn your hands however feels comfortable. We're going to bend our knees and put our feet on the floor. And now from here, think about letting yourself release chest a little forward and up, right? So instead of this, where you're concave in your chest, you just really want to feel like that string attached to your sternum is drawing it towards where the wall meets the ceiling, perhaps. Opening up across the chest here. And you can look up if you want to. That's totally up to you and your neck. Sometimes it feels good to open your throat a little bit that way. Sometimes it's way too much for the neck. Good. So one more breath here. Good. And then come on up and hold on here behind your thighs. And now the trick to boat is to try to get that same feeling if you walk your feet back a little bit, to not do this, right? Which changes the whole alignment of your spine, but to draw your chest forward. And then, you don't have to lift your feet off the floor. You can stay right there with your feet on the floor and boat. Or you can let your feet come up. You can even flex them and press the outside edges of your big toe mounds together. So be mindful. You can stretch your legs long if you want to. You can decide, oh my gosh, I don't want to stretch long. I want to stay bent, but I want to let go of my legs. So that's totally up to you too. Oftentimes that's pretty hard. To me, that's harder than, letting my hands stay on my legs and pulling my legs up towards me, right? Because this gets me so easily aligned compared to having to let go, right? Just play. Let it feel good. And then when you're ready and the feet come down, let the knees just gently open. You are more than welcome in Baddha Konasana to bring blocks underneath the outside of your knees. If you can sit up tall, if it's hard to do that, put your hands behind you like we just did, and let yourself feel really easily here open across your chest, and that might be enough. If you like the coming forward part, right? If you feel really good to come forward with a long back, that helps release your hips better, then you can do that. If it feels better not to do that and just sit up or support with your hands, then do that. You just want to make sure that you don't just let go and round everything and put all this big pressure into the middle of your back, right? Good. So one more breath wherever you are, letting the hips release. Really just imagining the knees are pointing away from each other and you're letting your hips release. And then we're going to slowly come up enough to bring our knees up and out with the legs. And we are going to lie down on our backs on the floor. So make sure nothing's back there to get in the way. Let yourself come on down. Once you get down there, bring your feet to the floor. Good. Good. And then let your knees just come a little bit side to side. Now, how far you go with the knees up to you. They can barely go just a little bit one side the other. You can let them come down more towards the ground. If it feels good to separate your feet wider and let them come down towards the ground, by all means do that. This all depends on how it feels to you and your hips and your knees and your back, your low back, right? Good. And now make your way back up to knees up top and get your feet set for a little bridge pose here. We all know bridge pose, it kind of varies how far we like our heels away from our buttocks. So getting your feet parallel and a little wider than you do in your mountain pose. You can bring your arms down alongside you, either bending the elbows, turning the palms to face each other, or having your arms down long. And as you press into the backs of the arms and you float your hips up, if you get up just a little ways and you're like, no way, does that feel good or right, you can come down and readjust how far your feet are away from your buttocks. You can roll your shoulders under and come up higher, or you can stay just barely off the floor, right? You can even move up and down out of bridge if that feels better for you. Or you can grab one of your blocks and come into supported bridge if that feels even better for you. So if you are in the support, I know a lot of you really like to do all kinds of different things when you're on that block, so feel free to do that. You know, you can do a leg up in the air, you can do little leg lifts if that feels good, where you stay very stable, right? Stable in your pelvis and letting yourself really enjoy a little movement in the legs. You can just bring both legs up to stay. You can do wide angles. I mean, you can just play. I know some of you even like to have your feet on the floor, but extend your leg down with up on the block with one foot on the floor with the knee bent, the other leg straight, where you open up the front of the hip. And I know some of you like to do both legs at the same time. So just giving you some options. Just play. If you're like, well, all I really want to do is come down and bring my knees in, by all means do that. So take your time. Let yourself kind of get what your body needs. And if it needs to be in a supported bridge a little bit longer, do. Remember, you don't ever want to feel discomfort in your back in bridge pose. So if you do, come down, bring your knees in. And if you haven't already, start to think about coming down. And once you do get down, you do want to bring your knees either in towards your chest or even onto the floor. Let your knees come side to side again. Time. Maybe your body wants to do another little twist, any form of a twist, or maybe you just want to stretch your legs up in the air. There could be any number of things that sound good to you right now. I'm going to start to walk around to bring support. So if anybody, I don't know what that means. Anybody thinks that bolster for underneath your knees sounds good, or maybe a blanket for under your head or for cover. You're welcome. Margaret. Reach it. Yep. Awkwardly, I'm sorry. No, it's good. Is that good? I think so. You don't object to part of it. up on me. I'm still moving around, bringing stuff. So wave at me if the idea of a little support sounds good. You don't have anything. And just let yourself release into your breath now. Accepting your breaths in and out. Just be easy, right? Just follow your breath in and out. If it helps you to kind of find those little spaces between your breaths again. Just letting yourself release a little deeper into those little spaces do. Like sometimes I almost feel like I get lost in those little spaces between my breaths. And just give yourself these few minutes. Letting the body and brain benefit however they need from all you just did. And simply allow yourself to find those little quiet places and allow yourself to completely and fully relax. breaths coming in and going out more fully, more deeply again. So if you can imagine, if you could send the breath all through your body out to the tips of your fingers and your toes, so that you start to want to wiggle your fingers, your toes, and maybe move. Madam, let me help you. No, you're not gonna let me help you? You're amazing.
Well, I have a fear of missing out. So I was determined, I wasn't gonna miss Shabbat. You said you told me today.
Okay, did you practice getting up and down the
Can you
pole?
believe it? She went down to the
Did you
floor.
practice getting up and down the
No,
pole?
and that wasn't very pretty going down.
But you did such a good job. That's
I
totally.
will start practicing that
Oh
though.
my gosh, that's so good.
You are our inspiration, Margaret.
I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm silly.
In a few weeks, you'll be doing jumping jacks and cartwheels again.
I hope so.
You will.
I just hope I can get on that snowmobile and
Yeah.
do
I didn't know
that.
that was you up here.
Well, it is. How are you, Miss Helen?
Good, congratulations.
Oh, it was okay, because I went to Georgia to see my kids.
You were at okay.
Yeah.
I know holidays still kind of bug a lot of people when they come around, but good. You were with your family.
Yeah, so I came in to see.
Oh, good.
I was reading the show.
Yes, the youth in
Did
our
you-
church did those.
You, was your husband okay? Just said, Lisa, I have a
Little he's in graduate school in Texas, and his whole fiance, they have been together since they were 17 years old.
Get down, who wants to come and
she's here, fine. She's on a tourist visa and they've applied for a fiance visa. And so they came up and spent Thanksgiving with me, and it was great fun. I haven't seen her in at least 4 or 5 years.
Oh my goodness. It's
And-
amazing they kept their.
Can you imagine two
Love.
kids? It must be. Now, it got rocky a couple of times, you know, but, yeah, they stayed with it. Of course, now we have cell phones, with international plans, FaceTime. So he just kind of lived on the phone with her all the time, I think.
Right.
But we can do that now.
I know, yeah.
That's good.
Were they in Texas?
They are, crazy mapping, at TU. He's at TU.
Okay.
He graduated, worked as an architect for 3 years in California and could not wait to get out of California. It was so expensive. Palo Alto is one of the 2 most expensive places to live in the United States, and that's where he's been for the last 4 years. That's where his whole company was. And so he wanted to go graduate school, so it's a 3-year program. So the upside of that is I'm going to have him close to me
Yes.
for the next 3 years.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
And they're a little closer to their parents because their parents live on the East Coast.
Okay.
So anyway, that was fun. And I'm going to Montana for Christmas to visit some friends. Who goes to Montana in the winter?
Exactly.
But you know, they invited me, and so I'm going.
Well, it may be a beautiful, maybe.
It will be. They guaranteed a white Christmas, and I heard the other day that I-90 was closed for blizzard, so I know they're getting snow. And so I'm flying because of the way my doctor said you don't need to sit in a car for 3 days. So, but my kids are all driving. They're going to take my car in a pickup, and they're going to caravan up there. And I'm kind of worried about that because those roads just close down, you know. But I think it'll be okay. I have faith and hope that we'll all make it together.
Oh, that'll be so fun.
It will be. It
I'd
will
give
be.
anything to have a white Christmas.
Well, I know.
There's something about it.
There,
Just
it is.
it's
And you
magical.
feel like it's real Christmas, don't you?
Yeah.
So that part will be fun. It'll be cold, but it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Susie bought me some fleece-lined jeans, 2 pairs, some flannel shirts, and Bella and I have snow boots now. We got sorrel, and we have. I'm going to get some of those mittens that are warm. So I tend to be very cold-natured, but I will probably say if they have a fireplace, I'll be next to it most of the time.
Yes.
But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. What are you going to do for Christmas?
I'm coming at my house for the kids here.
Oh,
So,
okay, all right.
I'm gonna
So you'll be cooking.
Yeah, and I haven't cooked very much since I last time I've really cooked.
I know,
You know,
I know.
so,
I don't
but I'm
cook
kind of
much
looking
anymore.
forward to it. I'm gonna cook and hope it turns out good.
And you know, if it doesn't, so what?
Yeah.
When you get to our age, it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
they'll eat it and they'll be happy to be with you. And
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I got tickled. These people, the only assignment I had was to bring some folding chairs. There was some friends here. And Alice and Carmela and I got there, and we forgot the one thing that we were supposed to bring. So Alex had to go back home and get them. And yeah, you know, it just, but I didn't have to cook anything, and I was so glad.
Yeah, I bet you are.
But anyway,
It's working out.
it is, it does. We move forward, and God takes care of us. And
Yeah, I've been doing better about that, so
good. You just kind of have to unlift everything and just say, okay,
this is my new life.
this is my new life.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's the way to put it.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm so
We'll
glad
get
you're doing
together
good.
for lunch sometime.
Oh,
I
I'm
would
so
love
glad
that.
you're doing good. Oh, I admire you.
Well,
Thank you, Kaye.
At this point.
it helped that Janet had been through this, you know, and so I consulted with her a lot, and I used her same doctor because I thought she had a really good recovery too.
Are you talking about Janet?
Janet Curtis.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
she had a knee done, you know.
Right.
And so I used her doctor and really, really liked him, even though he was way up in North Oklahoma City. But anyway, it went well. It was good. It hurt, but it went well.
It hurt, but-
You get over it.
Yeah, exactly. I think everybody's getting knee replacements.
It seems
It's
like
kind of
it's.
a fad.
I know, I know.
I hope I don't ever have to. But
I hope you don't either. Staying nice and thin like you do is an advantage, I think. I
Really?
think weight plays into that a whole lot. It really does, on your knees and hips and back and everything, so.
See, I think the thing I pray for is, because ever since I lost Tom, I'm thinking, who's gonna take care of me if I have to have something, you know, because we took care of each other, and you kind of go into panic, and I thought, quit worrying about it.
And I will tell you, this is the first time I have felt really vulnerable since Fred died 7 years ago. But you know, Cindy came, she stayed 17 days. I couldn't make her go home, she was gonna stay longer. So she helped, my daughter here helped, so